Hi everyone, absolutely delighted to sign. Can't wait for next season. See you soon.
Good afternoon, it's Friday and it's transfer update with myself and Sam, Spurs for life. How are you, Sam? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I was just enjoying that intro music. It's nice, man. It's got a nice little bass line to it. I was bouncing my head. Thank you. Welcome. We're on it. Day one of the transfer window, and Spurs have signed players.
It's official transfer now. We can actually start buying players now, and instead of just gossiping and who's going to be linked with. Then again, though, we're going to get linked with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but it's official. We can actually officially start buying players. Fingers crossed that we actually start buying players. You know what I mean? We've got Perisic. He's already come in. He's looking forward to it. He's done his interviews. He's spoken to Crenshaw. He's spoken to Luka Modric. Looking really forward to him coming to Spurs, to be fair.
Yeah. And in terms of the two signings, people are going to make comments that, they're both free. They're both in their 30s. But if you think about it, it's players that we need. It's players that are going to fill certainly gaps in the squad in terms of the goalkeeper with Forster, should I say. And Ivan Perisic, I'm so much looking forward to him in terms of that left-hand side, whether he's going to play as a left wing back, whether he can operate as a left forward, in fact, in terms of sometimes replacing Son, or on the right-hand side, or just filling in because he's got that ability to do that, but his quality as well. That quality we can't be undenied. So I'm happy so far.
Yeah.
One day in, day one, 2 players signed.
2 players signed. And like the introduction says, I mean, obviously, Sid Says introductions. Every time we get a signing, the person we've signed is going to be in my intro. So as you may have gathered, Fraser Forster from Southampton has signed for us. And he even gave us a welcome message in my video. So, you know, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more in depth as well. As Sam said as well, we're going to be talking about players that we've signed. We'll also be talking about players that we potentially could be signing. Sid Says we'll concentrate on the signings and potential players that we could be going for. And then, Sam, if you want to introduce the new one that you're going to be doing as well midweek.
Yeah, so we're going to have a new show called the Rumour Roundup. Darius 3K, you might know Darius 3K. He was the negative one and didn't think we were going to get top 4 initially. But no, I'll take that back. Darius is going to be doing the show from next week. I believe it might be Tuesday, and that's going to be just a gather-all. We're going to talk about all the rumours that have been going on, not just obviously specifically about transfers, but news that's in the media, shall we say, about Spurs, and just a general discussion around the table talk. So this is where it's at in terms of getting your definite transfer news about players, and the Rumour Roundup will be just a collective talk of the Paxton Road crew.
Absolutely,
yeah, there we go.
Absolutely. And as the banner says, 2 new signings, Ivan Perisic and Fraser Forster. We've already done the talk and our opinions on Mr. Perisic from Croatia. This one, I think there's a few mixed feelings at the moment in terms of why have we bought a 34-year-old into Tottenham Hotspur? We should be looking at younger players. And in all fairness, right, Sam, I honestly thought Sam Johnson, we was all over him. Because all the rumours were he's leaving West Brom. He's on he's told him he wants to leave. And from what I gathered, he was coming to Spurs. It was all nailed on. He agreed to personal terms. He wanted to come to Spurs. He didn't want to go anywhere else. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we signed a 34-year-old Fraser Forster, which for me, experience is absolutely massive. I mean, we'll see in the stats in a minute, but he's got a lot of pedigree. He's got a lot of experience in the Premiership. And I think most importantly, for Conte, he wanted somebody that you can look on the bench and think, I can trust him. He's a player that I can trust and I can bring on, knowing he's got the experience and he'll do me a job. Galini's left, and we discussed this as well. Galini, a lot of people weren't too convinced by him because the games that he did play, he looked a bit suspect. But again, it's going to be down to he didn't get enough games for Spurs. Should have got more games. However, this guy is a proven Premiership / Scottish Premier League goalkeeper. What's your thoughts on Forster? Was you surprised?
Yeah, it did kind of come out of nowhere, to be fair. Galini, I think we could all say that he, for the money that we would have had to have paid for him, he wasn't at the level. He kind of reminded me of a young Italian Joe Hart. You know, he's always got a rick in him. Even in those Europa League or Conference League games we played, I saw a few things that I was like, no, this can't be our long-term keeper. So again, we had Joe Hart. That didn't work out. I think Joe Hart way past his best by that sort of time and was always going to be making errors. Galini, a player that I think Spurs initially maybe thought he could be the long-term replacement for Hugo, but clearly that's not going to be the case. Forster. Now we've got to look at it as this is being a short-term gap to fill a number 2 position that we definitely need to fill going into a season where we've got Champions League if anything happens to Hugo. This should not be looked at as being our successor for when Hugo leaves at the end of next season. I think the club are still going to be doing all their work between now and then, certainly by the summer of next year, to get that next player in as the number 1 keeper. But if that didn't work out, let's say we went into that next season, I would be comfortable. I wouldn't say I'd be happy, but I'd be comfortable for a few games if it was Forster in goal. Because he's what, 34? Something like that? Is he 34?
Yeah, 34.
So again, he's not past an age of, oh my God, he's on a real decline here, but he's certainly not the one that's going to be the long-term future for Spurs. But certainly as a number 2, as an able person to come in to back up in Champions League games if we need it, and even the Premier League games, I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said to you, he's got experience, right? Where am I gone? Let's have a look. Actually, I've lost it. Okay, there you go. Let's have a look at his stats. So, if we look at his stats, right, in terms of what he's done. So, 34 years old, like I said. Previous clubs, he's played for Stockport County in 2008-2009, Norwich City 2009 and 10, Bristol City in the same season. Then he had a Celtic 2010-14, Southampton 2014-19. Then he went back to Celtic for a season, and he's been at Southampton again from 2020-2022, and obviously he's signed for us. Now, what we'll do is we'll look at the clubs one by one. So for Norwich, 38 games, 3,281 minutes, goals against 29. His saving percentage rate was 87.1%, and he kept 18 clean sheets. Now, that is the season that Norwich won promotion as well. So in terms of that, what do you think of that stats?
Yeah, it's difficult to kind of gauge his stats overall in terms of, I guess probably Celtic's the only team I can really say, because he was dominant obviously in Celtic as a team in Scotland. It's only Rangers that they were up against. The others, you know, we look at keepers. Do you want a keeper to have stats where he's making loads of saves all the time, or do you want him to make key saves when he's required? Because the best keepers, i.e. the ones who were in the top teams, the Allisons, you know, those sort of players now, they don't have to make many saves per game, but when they are required to do that, they have to be concentrated. They have to have less errors in them. So again, it's kind of difficult for me to kind of know what sort of keeper is he. Is he able to be in a game for not doing very much, and then when he's called upon, make that big save that's going to win the game or not lose it, whatever. So I think we're only going to really see when he's put in the situation in the games, the big games that we're going to be playing, and let's see how he does then. But I think in terms of what I've seen from his shot stopping, his ability, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not quite sure about his distribution, whether or not he's that great with his feet. Not that I've seen, but again, coaching, you might be able to get coached by Conte. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Celtic, he had 168 matches, 15,000 minutes, 113 goals conceded. His percentage rate was 77.4, and he kept 92 clean sheets, right? And Southampton is 134 matches, 11983, 69.4% saves, and he only kept 43 clean sheets. So it's like you said, in terms of what do you call it? In terms of shot stopping and that, it's sort of gone down. But at Southampton, it's probably what we expect from him, because they're going to get a lot of shots, right? With the kind of defenses and that they've got.
And that's the point I was trying to make. So the more shots he's going to have, the less his percentage is going to go. What you want to see is if he had, let's say, he faced 4 shots and he made 4 saves, 100%. That shows you that his concentration levels must be pretty good. But if he's facing like 100 shots, 200 shots, over a course of time, then if his percentage is quite low, then you're going to think to yourself, this guy under pressure, under a lot of shots, is maybe not the best shot stopper. But I don't know. I to be honest with you, Celtic again, it's only a two team league. Southampton, they're going to be under pressure, but he's 6'7". He's played in the Champions League. He's got experience, and he wanted to come to Spurs. He's happy to play the part that he's going to play.
Now, the other thing, right, is for me, right, 34 years old, like you said, experience ticks the boxes. Premier League experience, tick the boxes. He's won the Scottish League, tick the boxes. He's won a few cups as well over there. You've seen it, and I think a lot of Spurs fans have seen it. Every time we play against him, he has worldlies, right? He's always pulling up top saves. And I think I was watching Twitter this morning as well, and there was a few Spurs fans that were posting the video of him making all the saves against Arsenal. And in their eyes, it was a keeper that makes all these saves against Arsenal that denied them getting the top 4, has now signed for Spurs. On his day, he's a good shot stopper, but I think there's going to be a lot of concerns in terms of he's 34 years old. Am I right in thinking he's older than Hugo?
No, I think Hugo's older. I'm sure Hugo. We can do it whilst you're talking. I can have a look in the background, but they're not that far apart as far as I'm aware. I don't think they're that. Hugo's 35. Yeah. There you go. So I didn't think they were that far apart. Yeah. So I still really believe that this is a keeper that's not over the hill. If he was 37, 38, that sort of age, then you think to yourself, this is a keeper that's just, he's not physically at that top level, but keepers, as we know, can go on a bit longer anyway, certainly in this day and age anyway.
No, I totally agree with you. Sam Johnson won. I don't know what happened there. I know, I've heard he's looking at Aston Villa, but it's gone cold. From when we were linked with him, after that, it's gone completely cold. So I don't know what's happened. And
can I just add one thing? What we've got this season is we've got a World Cup. So again, if you're thinking about looking at what we might be able to get for next year, we've got a massive competition coming up midway through a season. Gives an opportunity for scouts to see who is a really good keeper. Now, I know that most of those keepers who are going to be in the top teams who progress in the World Cup are probably going to be under contract at someone, but you never know. You might see something within that competition and think, oh, that's a surprise, because we always get that in the World Cup. Something comes out, but hopefully Spurs are preparing for that without having to think about that sort of thing anyway. They're already making plans.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 2-year contract, right? So that takes him into 2024. And I think what you've said as well, I think what's nailed it on the head for me is Conte is looking at the here and now. He's not looking at the future. He's looking at here and now. And I think we've had this discussion. I think next season he's going for everything that he can, even the Prem, because we know what he did with Inter Milan when he went there. He bought proven players, 33, 34-year-olds, that he knows that he can mold, he knows that can play his system the way he wants to play, instant results and instant impact. That's why I think he's gone for Forster, because he's probably thinking, if something happens to Hugo, I've got a man-made, ready-made replacement that can just come straight in with the experience, and he can do me what I want him to do. And exactly what you said, the World Cup's coming as well. End of the season, probably depending on what Hugo decides as well. If Hugo decides to leave, then Forster's there for another season, and then we go and get the backup keeper, young one that he probably wants. So that's how it goes. And the most important thing, we've not spent any money. We've bought 2 players. We've not spent any dosh. That frees up more money for the players, right? And let's see what happens with that one. So in terms of, I know he's going to be coming in as an understudy. How do you think now Conte is going to play Hugo and Forster? Is it going to be like what Arsenal, I think Chelsea have done it. Man City have done it a few times. Do you think he's going to do Lloris in Champions League and Forster in the Cups? Or how do you think he's going to play?
That's how I see it. I see it as being, you know, Hugo's the number one keeper. Hugo's the captain as well. I think you're going to have to see Hugo in all those Premier League games and all those Champions League games. Now, again, we've seen last season that Conte just wanted to play his best team in every single competition. That had a bit of a detriment to some of the players' fitness. I think now he can trust more players. That's the idea. I don't think he fully trusted Galini in the position as a number 2 to come in, even for those cup games, because we saw some of the performances. I think he can maybe trust Forster to come in for those games, the League Cups, the FA Cups, those sort of games, and do well, and also progress. And in the event where we might have an injury to Lloris for whatever, or even if we need to make a rest, because, you know, it's going to be a lot of games that we're going to play, and he might, you know, not saying a rest physically, but a rest mentally, then you're able to bring maybe Forster in for some of these Premier League games. But I certainly think for all them major games, Premier League and Champions League, it is going to be Hugo, and then we're going to see Fraser in those other cup games.
So do you think Forster had Spurs in his mind, and do you think Spurs were his number one priority, or is it the fact that Spurs have come in for him, it's a no-brainer for him, or do you think he's probably just sat there contemplating and thought, you know what, shall I take this or shall I wait? Or was Spurs his number one priority once that came in?
I think for a goalkeeper, you've got to make a decision. Are you going to be a number 1, or do you want to be an understudy number 2? Because you know if you're a number 2, you're not probably going to play a lot of games, depending on where you are, depending on what happens at the club. So I think he's made a thing to himself, right? Because he wasn't the number 1 at Southampton. He kind of didn't play every single game for Southampton this season. So he was almost vying for a spot there. So he's thinking to himself, if I'm not number 1 at Southampton, to be number 1, he's going to have to probably go even lower down, maybe to a team, I don't know, let's use Leeds for an example, so lower down in the Premiership, or even possibly a Championship club. If a team like Tottenham comes along and says, hold on, we want you to be an understudy to Hugo Lloris, we've got massive games to play, you might play in them, you're trusted, we're going to trust you to be that player. He thinks to himself, that stadium, that training facilities, the environment, Conte, this is a no-brainer for me if I can't get to be number 1 in a team where I'm maybe going to struggle anyway. So I just think it's, for him, it's a fantastic opportunity, and one that I think once it came up, I think he just said no brainer.
Yeah, it's like you said as well. It's a fact that if you are into your final 2 years of your footballing career, what better way than to work under Antonio Conte and Champions League football? So, you know, even if you play 5 minutes, or even if you have one game in that Champions League, he's going to be happy. The fact that he's actually played in a Champions League, and you never know, you know, like we're all saying, I know you've said it a few times, you want a cup at least this season, or 2 cups.
I really do.
You know what I mean? So
I really do.
Yeah,
just adding on to that Forster thing as well. We did the same thing with Joe Hart. It's just the same sort of principle, and I understand why they brought Joe Hart in. The experience, he's a winner, blah blah blah. Joe Hart, for me though, was way past his prime. He just the pressure. Just when I saw what happened with him in England, it kind of went downhill. I know Forster's made some mistakes, but he clearly isn't under that sort of limelight to be pressured. So I think he's comfortable being that number 2. I think he's comfortable being that, but he can step up. And as you said, in those big games where against Arsenal, when he's like, oh my God, look at. So you can think to yourself, in those big games when he's required, he might be able to step up as well, and we can trust him, hopefully.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That's it, you see. And he could be an Optimus Prime as well, couldn't he? Because he could be in his, you know, he's come, like you said, Joe Hart came from not playing that much in the Prem. He was just going understudies here or there and everywhere. Whereas this guy's coming in from a club that he's going to be, or he has been playing, not as much as he wanted to, but he has been playing. And he's still, you know, like you said, these players nowadays, the fitness levels is just second to none, aren't they? They can go up to 35, well, 40, some of them, or 38, 39. So, and I'm sure, you know, Spurs have looked at everything like that, and his medical and that, and they've probably thought, you know what, this guy is in his prime, so we'll take him. So Okay, so that's Fraser Forster, ladies and gentlemen, our brand new free signing until 2024. And we've only got a couple of more minutes left because we can't go on forever because I get told off because every time I say I'm going to be 15 minutes, it becomes an hour and whatever. So we're going to quickly touch on a couple of other issues at the moment that's going on. Obviously, you're going to round up some more next week, and then I'll do another 6 days next week, hopefully with another signing. But Bastoni, right?
Okay.
We've had this discussion. People are losing their shit, pardon my French, on Twitter over it. A lot of people thought he was already done deal for Spurs. The way I see it, Conte wanted him. PRTv went and looked at him. It was never ever going to be a given that Bastoni was going to come to Spurs because he's already in a contract with Inter Milan. He loves Inter Milan. Inter Milan love him. He's a youngster. Why then would you want to leave Inter Milan when you're already happy? And we've discussed this, me and you, and and we've said the only way he was going to leave Inter Milan is if they apparently in crisis for money would have left and he had no choice and they said, right, you have to go. You have to go. But then we would have ended up with a player who may want to come to Spurs, but who didn't want to leave Inter Milan. And that could have been a bit of a problem for us. 50 million, 60 million, 70 million, it makes no difference what the dosh was. At the end of the day, we have to have a player who wants to come to Spurs, who's committed to Spurs, wants to play for Spurs, and will give 100%. And for me, this deal, and I said it to you as well, didn't I? That I don't think it's going to happen because there's too many ifs and fro's and too many people getting involved. Everybody's just retweeting the same tweets and people getting excited. And I don't think it was ever going to happen, to be fair. And even now, I'm reading people are saying, it's not out of the water. Don't worry. It might happen. It might not happen. My honest opinion, let him stay there. If he wants to stay there, let him stay there. Don't rock the boat. When the time is right, when he's ready, he'll come to Spurs. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a few reasons why players come to teams. You know, there's probably a loads of them, but mainly for me, you either want to come to play for the club, you want to come and play for the manager, you want to come and play because you haven't played in the Premier League or Champions League or whatever competitions that it is, or you come for money. Most of the times we've seen that a lot of players can get influenced by money if they don't necessarily want to come to the club. Now, in this situation here, we can clearly see Bastoni's come out and said he loves it at Inter. He's Italian. He's come through there. He's an Inter. He's got tattoos of Inter on his, calf, whatever it is that they've said about him. He doesn't want to leave. They only needed to get rid of him because they know he's a valuable asset, if they couldn't balance the books elsewhere. They've been able to do that. So people losing their mind saying that Spurs have done this and Spurs have bottled it or whatever it is they've said that we ain't got in for him, we're not showing the right ambition. My understanding is that we were prepared to pay whatever it was going to cost to get him out of the club. Yeah. Now, if Inter say they don't want to sell, I don't know what else we can do. And if the player said he don't want to leave, again, I'm not also sure what else we can do. We have to move on. We have to look at other targets. Hence the reason why Paratici's got this, style of having a number of players of the same position that he can go and approach. I even think part of this Bastoni thing could have been a bit of a smokescreen because I'm pretty sure they would have talked to the player. He would have said, listen, the only way I want to leave this club is if they force me out. And probably Spurs are thinking, well, maybe we can force this issue. It didn't happen. Other targets, let's go for them now.
I think I said this to you, didn't I? I think Bastoni was, when you're looking at brands and you think that's luxury, that's, like Armani, Primani kind of thing, yeah? And they probably thought this guy's Armani, right? We want him. Let's just put out the waves out there. Let's see what reactions there is. Obviously, a lot of Spurs fans have gone into overdrive. But I think deep down, they probably did know, like you said, we've put the money in, what they wanted, we've offered it. So they've probably thought, okay, yeah, shit, Spurs have given us the dosh that we want. Oh, no. I think they've said, you know what, we're not going to get him. However, let's put it out there, but then let's have alternatives, options that we can get. Now, is it Guardiola, De Vrij, Koulibaly is the latest one now, Pau Torres with GLC.
There's Bremer as well. There's Bremer as well.
like you said, because they wanted Bremer, didn't they, into Milan, and Spurs
Correct.
turned around and said, well, if you're not going to give us Bastoni and you want Bremer, well, we were going to get him for now. Yeah. So, and 35 million or whatever, I think something around 35 million. I think that's going to be a good bargain instead of 60 odd million. So let's watch this space. I'm not holding my breath, right? Like I said to my son yesterday, I'm not holding my breath because we've been there, we've been burnt so many times. But this time, the transfer window's open today. We've got 5 centre-backs at least that we're looking at. One is definitely not going to happen, right? Whether he was a number 1 target or not, there's about 4 others down that are available. We now need to get in there and make that deal. That Botman we've been linked with for how long? Now apparently it's almost it's done to Newcastle United. Out of all the clubs, he's gone to Newcastle United. We know why he's gone there, obviously. He's not gone for honours, he's gone for money. So we now need to make that statement and buy a centre-back. Because if we end up with a championship defence centre-back or a League One centre-back, I'm telling you now, there's going to be problems. I tell you that now. Yeah, all these people that are PRTv this and Conte this and that. If we don't get one of the top centre-backs that we're linked with, then I think there's going to be issues.
Listen, we've got to the start of the window. We've not got to the end. Had we made Bastoni our prime target and got, you know, all the way towards the end of the window, and he said, no, we're not doing a deal, and then we're scrambling around for players like we've done in the past and got in makeshifts and make weights and all the rest of the names you want to call them, then I could understand why, as a fan base, we're saying, oh, it's happening again, it's this and that. The fact is, we've made inquiries about our top priority that Perisic and Conte has said, but they're not silly. They know that you can't always get your top priority, particularly when the chips are stacked against you. In this case, it was. So we've got other targets, but we've got the time to do it. The biggest factor is Conte wants to get in as many players as he can before he starts pre-season. And I agree with that. So whenever that pre-season starts, whether that's in a 2 or 3 weeks time, whenever that would be, we've got to make sure we're in at least the main positions that we need to have got. And I think they're doing that. And hopefully, as you said, next week, we might have a signing, maybe 2. You never know.
This is it. And that's it. All this speculations and all these people just retweeting what other people have retweeted, then retweeting, and then another one retweets. And it's the same thing, just differently worded. Like you said, like we said yesterday, the transfer window has opened up today. We now have a whole month, maybe more. Just sit back. Rumours are going to come out. Gossip's going to be left, right, and centre. Just let the man cook what he's cooking. Let the manager give the list to the chef. Let the chef do the cooking. And what will be, will be. I know for a fact, like you said, we'll end up with someone, because if Conte said, I want X amount of players, Conte will make sure he gets these players, because it's a matter of contracts. Not only his, Conte's, Harry Kane's contract as well. So it's all dependable on what players we get in. Yeah.
I think what we've just got to be mindful of, if we see things like we've gone in for a player and then the other team, let's say it was, I don't know, go in for, let's use Bastoni as an example, and Inter had said we want 60 million and Spurs had gone in at 45 in the first deal. If we're then umming and ahhing about, you know, how much we're going to pay, then you could probably say the ambition might not be there, because it's clearly known what certain players' values are. I know there's obviously going to be negotiations, but at some point you have to bite the bullet and get the player if that's the player. If we see that happening, then we can maybe have some doubts. But if we go in for a player and the player doesn't want to come, but we've all agreed, they've agreed personal terms and they've agreed fees with the club, but the player turns around and says he doesn't want to come, I think we can clearly see we haven't lacked ambition. Circumstances are just preventing us from making that deal. So that's what I'm looking out for, those sort of things.
This is it. Exactly what you're saying. So all the fans of Tottenham Hotspurs, please be patient. It's going to happen whenever it happens. Yeah. All I'll say to you is once a week, come on here. Sid Says we'll have all the latest signings, all the latest gossips. During the week, we'll have Darius and Sam and Mike and Jody and Sean, whoever comes on as well, with the gossips and the players that everybody wants. So you lot can all get involved and put your comments in with the players that you might want to see at Spurs. They'll discuss it as well, because Darius is the man as well for transfers. As of today, 2 signings, both good signings, both free transfers. I'm happy with that. And it's 30 minutes. And I did say we're not going to go over 30 minutes. So on that one, thank you very much for watching. Sam, you got anything to say before we shoot off?
Yes. Make sure you smash a like on this. Make sure you put your comments in the comment section about anything to do with Paxton Road, and especially this show, Sid Says, whatever you want to see, whatever we can do to improve, whatever we can bring to you. And look out for our hoodies, look out for our t-shirts, all of that coming soon. That's it.
That's it. So trust the process, like, share, and subscribe, and we will bring you loads more transfer content at a screen near you. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.